in here?
I'm your Republican congressman. Now that we're in... Oh! Sorry, you can't do that.
What the hell, man? How'd you get in here?
I'm your Republican congressman. Now that we're in charge, we're banning porn nationwide.
You can't tell me what to do. Get out of my bedroom, you creep!
I won the last election, so it's my decision. I'm just gonna watch and make sure you don't finish illegally.
This clip has been tripping me out. I've been in here laughing my ass off at this clip. A man is in the middle of not being master of his domain, pleasuring himself to some kind of porno. A Republican Congress member comes in, sits down, looks at him and says, I am your Republican Congress member. We have won this election. And because we won this election, this is a no-no. And I am going to sit here and just watch you to ensure that you don't finish. Porn. Weaponized. Welcome to the Jamarl Thomas Show After Hours. My name is Jamarl Thomas. This is After Hours. Typically, I do my show in the morning. Definitely check me out in the morning if you're up. I don't care what you're doing, whether you are cleaning, cooking, going to work, whether you are at work, you can put your headphones in. From 7 a.m. to 10 a.m., Monday through Friday, I am here doing interviews, analysis, commentary, etc. I like to call it the best damn morning show anywhere. I'm trying to grow this channel. And so definitely hit the like button if you enjoy it. Definitely share if you enjoy it. And for that matter, if you really enjoy it, you can always support through a super chat or for that matter, PayPal or Patreon. Let's watch this one more time, just for, I don't know, it's funny to me. So let's watch it one more time before we talk about it.
Oh! Sorry, you can't do that.
What the hell, man? How'd you get in here?
I'm your Republican congressman. Now that we're in charge, we're banning porn nationwide.
You can't tell me what to do. Get out of my bedroom, you creep!
I won the last election, so it's my decision. I'm just gonna watch and make sure you don't finish illegally.
I'm just gonna watch and make sure you don't finish illegally. Oh, that is hilarious. Utterly hilarious. Weaponized masturbation. I don't think I've ever seen that in an election campaign. That is a demographic that I don't think I've ever seen deployed. Yes, there's a large number of porn watchers. I mean, that's what 70, 80% of the country, hell, maybe even more. But I've never seen it actually fashioned into a weapon and lobbed at political opponents. Now, understand why. This is broadly at Republicans from policy standpoint, but I would argue that part of the reason that this ad exists is because of a certain level of desperation that is taking place with Democrats right now. And you can't ignore the presidential election in that tension. The reality of it is, if Donald Trump wins, it's not like those people are going to vote Trump and then go down ballot and then vote Democrat, Democrat, Democrat. After voting Trump, they were brought to the polls by a big ticket item. That big ticket item is the presidential election. And in the context of that big ticket item, they vote Republican, which by definition on some level means they are a Republican. And as they are a Republican, when they're looking at other issues on the ballot, or for that matter, when they're looking at other candidates on the ballot, they tend to go down and vote Republican, Republican, Republican. So if you get a situation where Kamala Harris gets beaten in a landslide, or for that matter, gets beaten in the electoral total, or hell, just wins the election in general, you're going to have a large number of people who are coming to that ballot box with the intention of voting Republican. And you can imagine what that means for the losing candidate if she wasn't able to marshal her people to the ballot box in order to vote Democrat. So the ad is on some level hitting Republicans broadly, but I would argue that a lot of that has a lot to do with this sense and feeling, this palpable sensation that a change has taken place over the last month regarding the election. That change being that Kamala Harris seems to be on a downward slope and Donald Trump seems to be on an upward slope. It's not like anything has fundamentally happened over the course of this last month. Nothing big anyway. There wasn't a debate. There wasn't a situation where somebody fell and hit their head and looked silly doing it. I would argue that it has a lot to do with the rhetoric that's coming out of Kamala Harris. A lot of it is about Trump. Less of it is about her and what she plans to do in this kind of thematic thing. She calls herself a change. Okay, well, you can call yourself that. But when people ask you, what is that change? What is the thing to which you find that you separates you from one Joe Biden who's currently in that office right now, that you are the VP, basically under his leadership? How would you be different? And Harris basically couldn't give an answer for the question. And to make it even worse, she says, I was with Joe Biden as he made the big decisions in this administration. So a country that 60 to 80% believe is going in the wrong direction, here's Kamala Harris, who says, in one sense, I'm a new way forward. And in the second sense, there's nothing that I can tell you that I would do differently, either outside of the office, meaning going into the VP, or for that matter, while we were currently in office, as we were racking up that disapproval of 60 to 80% believing we're going in the wrong direction. That's what I think. I could be wrong, but that's my view on that. To back this up, and by the way, this ad was made by a lefty group called Progress Action Fund and Defend the Vote. And the ad is entitled, Rubbing You the Wrong Way. I'm sorry, Republicans, rubbing you the wrong way. Fair enough, I think this reeks of a certain level of desperation. And to make this point clear, Axios, behind the curtain, Democrats fear they're blowing it. They can feel it themselves. It's not just me. To make this point that much more clear, latest CNN poll, 47-47, even race. Even race. And by the way, an even race is not an even race in real terms, in reality-based terms. An even race is a losing for a Democrat. Again, rule of thumb, 5 points higher in order for a Democrat to win. If you think back, Democrats could win the popular vote, especially with a state like California. If you think back, Hillary Clinton won the popular vote. All of that vote was in California. It's that massive of a state. The issue is winning the Electoral College, which means that goes down into battleground states that can have very thin margins, one way or the other, 20,000 votes, 10,000 votes, 15,000 votes, etc. Here's another one, talking about the battleground states. Emerson poll, Pennsylvania, +2 Trump. Wisconsin, +1 Trump. North Carolina, +2 Trump. There was another one that ended up being even. Now, let's be very clear. There are some polls, especially recent polls, that also show Kamala Harris is doing better in Pennsylvania than what this poll suggests. But again, they're breaking even, almost in a tie of sorts, which, again, if you are a Democrat and you have a basic knowledge of political history, you know Pennsylvania was effectively a Democratic state. Republicans wanted that state, but it is a Democratic state. Now you have Fetterman out here, slob of a man that he is, effectively saying the intensity for Donald Trump on the ground cannot be underestimated. He is from Philadelphia. I met him once in Philadelphia. And so he is somebody who can articulate an idea, a feeling of what is happening on the ground, because that is indeed the state he's representing. I want to go further for that. Real clear politics. Trump versus Harris. I want you to see this trend line. This is a month ago. Harris 49.2, Trump 47.2. And by the way, it was even worse at one point. Trump, the lowest he's gotten was 48.3. But a month out, Trump was down to 46.9. I'm sorry. He was lower than 46.9 at one point. Harris up to October 4th, 2024. But look at this. A steady and consistent climb, with Harris falling directly at the moment that we're going into with what, less than 2 weeks before the election, and look at what that little red box says, Trump plus 0.1. He's taken the lead in national polls, according to Real Clear Politics, and that is after trailing the entirety of the race. Kamala Harris had a glow once she got off and got into the race. Part of that glow was because Joe Biden was so bad, and it was such elder abuse to have Joe Biden out there on the campaign stage mispronouncing things, missing his thoughts, losing his train of thought, getting led around by his wife, getting touched and pulled by Obama, or for that matter, what is the name? The one that's in Italy. Meaning, in one situation after the next, he has looked bad. Not to mention Maloney. Yeah, Giorgia Maloney. In the debate, when it became very clear that Joe Biden was incapable of running for office in real terms, and honestly, from my appraisal, should not have been in office even then. Nevertheless, the Hare report was backed up by what we saw at the debate. The Hare report being the agent that was investigating whether or not Joe Biden took fouls, because there was such a hoopla about it for Donald Trump. Joe Biden comes out and says, oh, by the way, I also have documents that I didn't turn it back in. In which case, an investigation was opened against Joe Biden. In which case, he said, a well-meaning old man with a poor memory. Basically, he is incapable of being prosecuted because the jury may look upon him favorably because he is an old man with a poor memory. Basically, Joe Biden is out of his mind. And he is such out of his mind that he can't be prosecuted despite Donald Trump. Can be prosecuted. It's just a weird phenomenon that a president could be in office and during an investigation into something he might have done illegally, come to the assessment that he is not mentally right in order to stand trial in real terms. All right. I look back on Hillary and Trump because I was curious about where Hillary was at this time. So, Real Clear Politics, you can go back in time. And again, a similar phenomena. Hillary leading by even bigger margins. Trump, 38.8%, Clinton, 50%. This was in March 28th, 2016. And if you remember, they said Hillary, on the night she lost the election, had like a 90-something% chance of winning the election. And they got worse and worse and worse. So when you got down to, let's see, October 28th, what's the day? October 28th, right. All right. October 28th, and Hillary and Trump. Hillary 47.1, Trump 42.6. Meaning Hillary was leading that entire race. And at this moment in that race, Hillary Clinton was still in lead. And right now, not only is Kamala Harris not leading, she's underwater by 0.1. You can say 0.1 is not much. But again, if you go with this notion that Democrats have to have a larger margin in order to get a victory, then that 0.1 is a terrifying number. And again, if you look at it, this is this is Trump rising. Now, this is Trump rising, gaining momentum as the closing arguments are being made to the American public. The reason you're hearing Trump is Hitler, Trump is a fascist, Trump needs to be locked up, as Joe Biden said, or for that matter, masturbation being weaponized and added to the ballot. The reason this stuff is being weaponized like this is because they feel the tension. A campaign that is confident, a group that is confident, meaning the Democratic Party, if it was confident, wouldn't feel the need to go to masturbation as a weapon. That's not the best closing argument that you can really come up with. That's somewhat of an odd closing argument to make in order to get people to vote for you. Yes, there's a large contingent of people that care about it. No, I don't necessarily think that's going to move the needle one way or the other. The campaign ad is funny. Kudos to that. It puts you in the mind of throwing mama off the cliff or grandma off the cliff, if you remember that ad. I'm telling my age. When they were attacking Medicare, Paul Ryan, I believe, was on the ticket with Mitt Romney. And what the Democrats did, they came up with a campaign ad where grandma was taken in a wheelchair, drawn to the edge of a cliff, and just tossed over. Super effective, funny, on point, and it worked. There's a similar energy to this, but it doesn't have the gravity of losing Social Security and Medicare. It's more so awkward, a little bit strange, and somewhat of an odd closing argument to make, given all of the other issues that avail us. Palestine, war in Ukraine, those are two big issues right there by itself, right? They could bring the world to the brink of extinction. $35 trillion debt, that's another issue that could bring the world to extinction. BRICS, for that matter, and the undercutting of the dollar. Now that we brought that on ourselves, and I bring that up in the context of the sanction regime that we've run across the world that has had a reverberation effect of those countries saying, we don't want to be a part of this. It's fine when the dollar is not being used as a weapon. The moment it's turned into a weapon, we want to get out that weapon. Meaning, there are all sorts of issues that you could talk about. Porn is a weird one. Porn is a weird one. And again, this didn't come from the Kamala Harris campaign, to be very clear. It came from two Democratic groups, Progress Action Fund and Defend the Vote. So this is not something coming out of the Harris campaign. In fact, they were saying that some other Democrats were a little annoyed that this was a video that came out at all, considering the subject matter and considering we're closing out the election in a few weeks. This is not necessarily the closing argument they wanted to be made on behalf of the Democratic Party. And by the way, vision. What do you believe in? What do you want to do? What is your theme? What is your point? Why do you want power to get into that office? Are you just taking the office to take the office, or is there something you actually want to do in that office? Articulate that vision. These piecemeal items. Well, I'm going to give $25,000 for homeowners. I'm going to give this much money to small businesses. I'm going to tax the rich, but not to a certain extent. Those are piecemeal. What is your theme? What is your thesis? When Obama said, I'm going to provide health care to all of Americans, that's a theme. That's something that this is what I want to use that power in order to do. When Sanders says we need to increase the minimum wage to $15 an hour, we need to increase Social Security, we need to increase worker protections. Okay, that's a theme. That's a worker-oriented theme that he is basically running with in order to make his argument for the election. What is Harris's? A new way forward doesn't really tell me that. And spending your entire time talking about Donald Trump without necessarily elucidating a larger thematic vision for your campaign, I believe that has been to the detriment of Harris, with a lot of people not necessarily knowing what she believes in. I would say if you're attacking Trump with hanging around with dictators, that gives me this notion that you are for forever wars. It is a good thing that we are able to forge relationships around the world. And I would argue if we could forge relationships around the world as opposed to shaking a fist and taking advantage, we would have had far more countries that would have avoided, ignored any notion of changing the standard order. But that's not where we are. Democrats weaponize masturbation. Just amazing. Look, I'm going to take a break. It is like nearly 12 o'clock here. I don't know if anybody is up, but in either case, I'm going to say like, I'm going to say share, I'm going to say subscribe. Thanks all.